Police Minister Bheki Cele says his office is currently working on a plan to deal with ongoing violence in Westbury. The minister, together with the acting National Commissioner Musikidi, went to visit the Sophiatown police station in Johannesburg this morning after widespread shootings in Westbury as recently as this past weekend.
A long-standing issue of gang violence is said to be tackled using a 2018 strategy when the same scourge reared its ugly head.
We have come with a mini program that will be unfolding starting from today. We might be back here on Tuesday again to see the unfolding of that, where we can really begin to elucidate and say more about the program that we have just crafted inside here, and we'll be going forward.
Police Minister Bheki Cele has now confirmed these brazen shootings were sparked by the killing of an alleged gang leader. One of the concerns raised by the community members is that the gang members are working closely with the police.
The community members did raise that there are some of us, police, that are not really covering themselves in terms of working with the criminals. Look, we've got structures ourselves as the police. We've got the secretariat that will be also sent here to work on those things. We've got the IPID, and when those cases are open, will be taken up by the IPID, and we'll have to put those members of the South African police who opt to convert and change their blue to orange.
Cele says there won't be a need for the deployment of the South African Defence Force, but the idea of the 2018 police strategy is unsettling for some community members.
Also, when they brought in Amaberetes and all that, they actually came to arrest the community. They came here to bully the community, and I feel it's not fair. Even if they come out now, we want them to come out. We want them to come and do searches. They can put us under lockdown, a proper lockdown. They can put the whole community under proper lockdown and do their searches. We don't mind, but they are not coming to bully us in our community. They must come and do their work.
I think is when they come out and then they manhandle the people in the community. They come and they show us no respect. So what they'll do is they'll come here, and then if they want to search you, they want to rough handle you. In the week I was actually searched also by the police because they were chasing down a car. But the policeman doesn't put on his siren, nothing. He just expects this guy to know that he's being pulled over. So the guy, anyway, he goes into the shop where I was in, and they come in. You know, one of the police ladies, it's a female, and she works at the Sophiatown police station. She hits my thighs to open up my legs, but I'm standing there. It's not like I'm refusing for her to search me, but that just shows that when they actually need to do their job, they want to throw their titles around, they want to throw their weight around, which I just feel is going to be unfair.
Cele says they will get all departments to work on stabilizing the situation in the area.
Criminal law expert Ian Allis joins us now to talk more about the violence in Westbury and other areas affected by gang violence in South Africa. Ian, a very good evening to you. Always a pleasure to speak to you. Police now going back to the drawing board, basically resuscitating a plan from 2018, but if it failed then or has not ended gang violence in Westbury in the years since, why would it be more successful now?
Good evening to Bheki Cele, and once again, it's always a pleasure, and good evening to the viewers. That's precisely the thing. It's once again our Minister of Police working together with other elements from a political campaign. It's more becomes about sounding like you want to do something than actually doing anything. The 2018 ideas of the special investigation units and the special increase in the policing units of incapable, uneducated and untrained police officials, which is what's happened in the past, is exactly what ended up will happen again, and then once again you'll have the community up in arms. Secondly, you're never going to be able to eradicate gangsterism when your gangsters are actually working hand in glove with your police, because it's a territorial issue. Is realistically the different gangs, the different syndicates that work nationwide have also different kingpins, and they're territorial. It's a turf war. And whether you're talking about Westbury or you're talking about other parts of the West Rand or by Newlands or Eldorado Park, or you're going down to Cape Town or into the townships, it's the same problem. It's gangsterism is run by a specific by specific groups. It's an organized business. And your police are part of that network. There is a huge element of corruption. And setting up a failed experiment again is just going to have the exact same result of another failed experiment.
And if, for example, you look at the involvement of police, as the community is alleging, in crime or working with gangs themselves in areas such as Westbury, would bringing in officers from other parts of the city, other parts of the country, make a difference?
Not really. The problem is that the rot is too deep. The rot is it's not at a superficial level. It's at deeper levels. So even if you're going to switch people out and bring new people in, all you're going to do is extend the power of the gangs. So they move out of parts of Westbury and will move to another part and put it to East Rand. It's still going to have the same effect because you're setting that rot in. You can't eradicate it unless you start dealing with where the problem lies on the inside. Is those police officials who are involved in the corruption can't just be relocated elsewhere. It's just going to continue. You need to eradicate. So it's almost like a cancer. You don't go ahead, you don't surgically remove cancer in the thyroid by going ahead and going through the foot. You just going ahead and exacerbating the problem, and that's where we're at the moment, and that's why Minister Cele's plan is honestly pointless.
What would be a more effective strategy then from the police minister?
First of all, if you're going to end up getting police and you're going to get investigating units, you can't just set them on the community. The community already is under stress. What you need to start doing is introducing further resources into properly training your police. Secondly, you need to look at where your organized crime syndicates are starting to extend into the police force itself, and start actually looking further than just the superficial basis of the corruption in our police force, and deal with that. All you're just doing is putting new fresh produce on top of the old rotting ones, and that's where it's just going to rub off on it. So ultimately, you need to start also educating the police force better, training the police force, and introducing a proper resource. And when the dishonest and the corrupt police officials are actually found, you can't just simply give them a golden handshake. They need to be prosecuted, and that's the reality. So that they also know, obviously there's always going to be an element of, it's a fine line between the corrupt and the corruptors. Crime and justice go hand in hand, and there is always going to be an issue. But also, you can't put the pressure that they're doing on the community and bullying the community, where you've got about a 10% or a 15% gang-related issue, and you're punishing 80% of the other people for investigations into one gun, and that gun's probably stolen half the time from one of the police stations, which is even frightening.
What you're saying, Ian, is a complaint raised by people in Westbury today, where they say in the post-2018 period, when there was the first massive response, shall we say, by police to the crime situation in Westbury, they say they were basically abused by members of the tactical response team, better known to most people as Amaberete, who've got more of an approach that takes the direction of a Skop, Skeet and Donald type of style, right? And that has not been effective. Is that the right unit to keep deploying into crisis-ridden or gang-ridden communities?
Absolutely not, because if you take a look at what their success was actually negligible about cutting down on gangsterism. If you want to look at statistics, gangsterism is at its all-time high now post that, because you're sending in guys who may also be on the books of the kingpins. So all they're just doing is intimidating the people, intimidating the communities. The people in the community are then afraid to talk to the police, and there becomes there's a very simple philosophy, is that snitches get stitches and end up in ditches. That is basically how the gangs run. Anyone who snitches on them and goes to the police, they're going to end up dead. So realistically, where's the confidence when you're bullies? You're now asking these people who are beating you up and shooting first, asking questions later to help you bust the bad guys. Who are actually the bad guys in a scenario like that? Because most often the gangs are providing greater protection than the police are, and that's the reality.
Let's talk about the gangs for a moment, because you said at the heart of it, this is a turf war, right? They're fighting over who controls which areas. How is that even determined, and what is the ultimate objective? Is it to push drugs? Are there other financial benefits to taking control of an area such as Westbury?
There's different things. Number one, you've got a lot of people, especially it's a poorer area. It's a drug-riddled community. It's a crime-riddled community with other petty crimes. That's an automatic invitation for the gangs. Remember one thing: it's a business, and for that type of purpose, you need a lot of runners. You need a lot of people to help build numbers. And if you've got people on the ground there's financial gain, whether it's drugs, whether it's guns, whether it's going to be sex trafficking and all of that type of thing. It's a different, certain of the gangs will have their own certain set agendas, but most of the time in a smaller, poorer area, it is primarily drug and petty theft related activities, and that's what it's about. Who's got the control over the trade? Who's got control of the gun trade? Who's got control over the drug trade? Who's got control over the sex trade in that industry, in that area? That is the way it goes ahead and works, and that's where the problem lies. That's where the organized crime aspect comes into it. And the people will know, and the people have their suspicions, but they're too afraid to talk to the police. And the police are turning a blind eye because a lot of them are also on the payroll of these gangs.
Ian Allis, very grim picture that you're painting. Thank you so much for your time. Criminal law expert speaking to us today.